Hey, this is actually going to be a pretty action-packed check-in video. And by action, I mean there is not going to be any action, really. But there's a lot of stuff that we'll talk about. So the first thing is, yes, you're totally right. How did I manage to forget to talk about my own favorite movies? Like I did not do that in the welcome video. So number one, sorry about that. And number two, here they are. Wait, they're not doing it. Here they are. There we go. Okay. Chinatown is absolutely fantastic. Also, this looks way stupider than I thought it was going to. This looks like some Brady Bunch BS. PowerPoint made it look like it was going to look really cool. Anyway, it looks stupid. And what color is this? It's like plum, but like dusty plum. I don't know. Like it's got ash on it. Anyway. Whatever. So this is Chinatown. Chinatown's an excellent movie. It's like a very hard-boiled detective noir story. Don't watch it with your kids. There's some weird stuff in there that happens at the end with the antagonist. But it's great. Definitely watch it alone. Or with other adults. Also fine. Great movie. It's from like before I was born. And I think most of these are kind of gonna be before I was born. I really tried to pull some that were at least somewhat newer. Brick is sort of newer. I feel like it's probably 15 years old at this point. But Brick is great. Brick is another detective story, but somehow it's set in high school, which sounds stupid, but it's not. It also sounds like Veronica Mars, but it's also not. It's great. It's really good. It's by the dude that did Looper. I didn't like Looper as much as I liked Brick. So if you really liked Looper, you should watch Brick. It's really good. Knives Out, there's definitely a theme to the movies that I like. That's my recent movie. That was like, decided to go see it on Thanksgiving with my family. Just like, I guess we'll see this thing that James Bond is in, whatever. And blown away. It was amazing. It's totally great. Big Trouble in Little China, quite possibly my favorite movie of all time. It's fantastic. Like, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. But I also feel like if you are going to like it, you've probably already seen it at this point. I feel like it came out the year I was born, maybe. I don't know. It might have actually been earlier than that. But it's great. I mean, it's like one of these over-the-top, totally stupid 80s action movies. But it's good. It's really good. Oh yeah, Independence Day, of course. I mean, if you were, again, a kid that was born when Big Trouble in Little China came out, then when you were like 8 or something, maybe 10, I don't even know. I don't know when this movie came out. I'm gonna guess 1994. Anyway, Independence Day was amazing, and yeah, Will Smith is crazy now, but he was like totally cool when Independence Day came out. So it was awesome. Like Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, great movie. Also aliens, things exploding. How could you want more? And then I'm like, there's my total cop out is there's 2 or 3 episodes of a TV show called Westworld that went together as a movie. Like you could watch them back to back, and it would be like a little self-contained movie that didn't have anything to do with any of the other characters. It was fantastic. It's the Shogun World episodes, but that was mind-blowingly awesome. And now that I've made this, I realize there are a lot of movies that I really like, and like even directors that I really love that don't have any representation here, which is so what's that dude's name? Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead and World's End and all of these other things. Baby Driver, and he's doing something else that is coming out really soon about a hotel. It's like a horror movie. Anyway, Edgar Wright, fantastic. I don't think I've seen a thing that he's done that I haven't enjoyed. Also, Spike Lee, really good stuff. Also, the guy that kind of reminds me of Spike Lee, who isn't Spike Lee, Quentin Tarantino, again, really good stuff. So, I don't know why they don't have anything on here. And that's pretty much it. It's, I don't know. There's definitely a theme to these movies, right? It's, oh man, my face is covering up Independence Day. Oh well, you know what it looks like. There is alien ships and Will Smith. Okay. Like detective movies, and then just like ridiculous over-the-top action movies from that are not current. Current ones are fine too, but you know, I don't know. Something about graphics actually looking good makes a movie not as fun. It's too real. The CGI looks terrible. You're like, oh, we at the movies. So that's what I like. Okay, so let's move on to take a look at this PowerPoint that you guys have access to already. This is my example for homework 3, talking about stuttering in the basal ganglia. I said yellow dig is what you're going to upload it to. That's not true. It's called VoiceThread. It's another 2-word thing that means nothing. That's the words have been pushed together. It's VoiceThread. And I will show you what that looks like in this video. So what you're going to do is you're just going to talk over your presentation. You don't have to record your face. You can. I think they give you the option to do that, but by no means do you have to. You can just, use your computer microphone and just record yourself talking. That's totally fine. So what you're going to do is you're just going to basically make a very short, aim for 5 minutes or less. Does not have to be long. Presentation. I'm just going to make some popcorn in the microwave and sit down and watch these and give you a grade while I watch them. And because I enjoy watching things and eating popcorn, I have a feeling you'll probably all get pretty good grades. So you kind of do something like, talking about stuttering in the basal ganglia. Like you guys know from class, it's a disorder of speech. This is a slide of all the stuff that I have that's just from class. So I'm not bringing in the outside information yet. So this is kind of just refreshing everybody on the topic. They should know because they've done some exams about the topic, but maybe they don't. And if you've chosen one of the topics that are not something that we cover, then you can make a slide to just kind of orient everybody with some really easy definitions and just talk about, what is it? Just kind of like I have here. Stuttering is a disorder of speech fluency. Fluency means how well speech flows. And stuttering can range from just a few words in speech to as much as 20% of the spoken words. And, if it's something that you can give an example of, go ahead and do it. I think another thing to say is that when we're talking about these and when we're kind of like modeling these disorders, it is better for me to have a video to show you guys. You don't have to have it, but by no means are we like, you shouldn't feel like you're making fun of a person who has this when you're trying to replicate it. And you're trying to teach future clinicians, just like I am. And so we are trying to replicate it as good as we can without actually having the disorder. So you don't need to feel like you're doing something wrong, or like, so it's fine. If you want to replicate any sort of speech disorder, it's okay. You're doing it from a place of teaching, which is acceptable. So he'll talk about, like the primary characteristics are the first to appear. Secondary characteristics are going to appear later, but the secondary characteristics are the things that really allow you to qualify this as stuttering, as a fluency disorder. And so then I've got 2 extra slides on mine of information. You can just have 1 if you want, but I thought it flowed a little bit better if I used 2. So we talked about this in class as well, about the basal ganglia. Oh, I do want to show you this. So I'm citing my sources in the PowerPoint as I go. 1 big bullet point, a little bit of explanation, 1 big bullet point, a little bit of explanation, and citing my sources as I go. Same thing here. Here's a bullet point and then a source. And you can add a picture to help show what you're talking about. Here I've got a picture of the basal ganglia and the substantia nigra here. This is a substantia nigra that is damaged. You can see that there is no darker portion of brain matter here. This is kind of just a little pink. In fact, it looks almost white, kind of dead, and that's showing that it's one that is it's damaged. This is probably a person who has Parkinson's or is about to have Parkinson's symptoms. So again, each bullet point is just an article, and then I'm giving the parenthetical documentation of that article afterwards. If I was actually doing the thing, I would go through it with you, right? So if I'm doing the homework that you're doing, I would say, like, well, patients who sustain injury to the basal ganglia sometimes can develop stuttering. So you'll see people that, and you can elaborate on these points. In fact, you should. One of the things, not to be a jerk and say that I have good lectures, but they're okay. I get comments in the evaluations a lot that people enjoy them, so that's excellent. One of the ways that I think that they are enjoyable is that I try to know what the hell I'm talking about and use 1 bullet point to pull some extra information out of my head. So patients who sustain injury to the basal ganglia can develop stuttering. You can talk about how people who have traumatic brain injury, some people fall, some people have strokes, and if the damage from the fall or the stroke corresponds to the basal ganglia, sometimes that can cause neurogenic stuttering. About a quarter of children with normal intelligence who have suffered a brain lesion are stutterers. And so that's reinforcing what we said earlier. If you have some sort of brain lesion, again, this is from some sort of TBI, stroke or actual fall or a penetrating injury or something like that, children who recover from that with normal intelligence, so they're not impaired in any way, about a quarter of them have become stutterers. So that's just kind of reinforcing that, showing that it's damage to the brain that causes stuttering in some cases. In the cases of neurogenic stuttering, it's damage. But it doesn't impact IQ, it doesn't impact intelligence, it doesn't impact their actual cognitive life. It's something else. Now, because in this video what I really want to do is teach you about how to do homework 3 properly, I'm not going to walk you through all of these. Here, we're talking about the basal ganglia and timing. This is all stuff that you've heard before when I talked about it in the fluency disorders lecture. Here's my falsifiable question. So this 1 slide, the main thing I want you to know from it is the thing I'm putting on here is, can people who stutter benefit from a cell phone app that vibrates like a metronome? This is my falsifiable question. We could theoretically, with a lot of time and money, figure out if the answer to this is yes or no. So it'd be a little bit more discreet than an audible click. They wouldn't have to wear headphones or something. It could just go, and that might help them with their speech problems. That's all you need for your falsifiable question. You don't really have to say like, oh, we're going to test it this way. You can. It's really interesting. It's excellent. It's good to start thinking about these things, especially if you want to be a researcher, like how you would test it and the kinds of things you do. But it's not required for your points. But if you do like some of the ideas of what I've talked about with my own research, this is kind of what I do. I sit around, I think of ideas, then I think of like, well, how would I test that? What would I need? And it's fun. I would not trade jobs unless it made way more money. Like, you take a little bit of a pay cut to be a researcher, and it's fine. Like, you're not making industry money, but it's because it's fun. And then what you want to have is a references slide, just like this. This is just like the references that you would have in a paper. You just put it as a slide. You don't need to talk about it or anything. Like, I'll be able to look through it. You can just say, like, here's my references, and then that's it. You can use some of these as templates for your own references. So, like, the way that I've cited myself for fluency disorders, this is how you would cite any of my lectures or any of the guest lectures that we've had. And then, of course, you should use the Purdue OWL to look up any of your other citations that you need, though this is a good... here's a book. This is how you would cite a book. This is how you would cite a journal article. Most of you are going to have journal articles and PowerPoint presentations from me, so your journal articles will look like this. Last name, first initial, the year it was published, the title of the article, the title of the journal, which is italicized, the volume, which is italicized, the issue, which is not italicized, and the page numbers, which are also not italicized. Some of this stuff is just kind of, seems like maybe they came up with it arbitrarily, but that's the way that we have to do it. So that's the way you have to learn it. Okay, excellent. Okay, so we're going to get out of PowerPoint now, and we're also just I'm going to get rid of my face off of here because we don't need to see me anymore. I'm going to show you some stuff online, and yeah, get out of there, Jake. Okay. So what I do want to move over to you is this. This is VoiceThread. I'm going to put a link to this on our Canvas page. It should look pretty much like this for you. And what you're going to do is you're just going to drop something in here, some sort of media. What you want to do is choose it from your computer. You're going to put your PowerPoint file in here. My work computer is very slow, so you just have to sit here. You're not in front of me, but how's your day going? There we go. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's all right. Getting close to the end of class, that's good. Let's see, I've put this in downloads. There we go. Yep, here it is, the example with movies. So it's going to upload, and you can title it here. Put in, when you make your title, put in your last name. So not my last name, like the last name of the instructor. Don't do that. Put in your last name. But since I am the instructor, it'd be Patton. Patton, Stuttering, and Basal Ganglia. Homework 3. You don't necessarily need a description, though you can put one if you like. And then in your tags, what I want you to put is SHS 205. Do we do these as a comma? HW3 and Summer 21. And then you can save all those. That way I can search for those tags and make sure that it comes up. It should just come onto my feed by stuff that's been uploaded recently. So it's not like I shouldn't see it. I should be able to just see everything that you guys upload. But you know, just in case. All right, so there we go. So then you'll see here where you used to just be able to upload something, you're going to have a PowerPoint file here, which then you can click on this to edit and start recording your voiceover, I guess, is what I'll call it. It's taking its sweet time there, isn't it? Well, there we go. All right. So what we want to do is, nope, we don't want to do that. Comment. And then you can record an audio comment. I don't think this is going to work because I'm using my microphone. So I think if I do this, it's going to like freak out. Oh, I could use, okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, so this is my voiceover for the PowerPoint area. You guys are probably, if you watched the video already and you're looking at this, then you'll remember when I recorded this, and it'll be kind of weird. Like you're experiencing two realities or something. You can draw on stuff. So if you want to highlight things or draw pictures, you can do that kind of stuff. Of course, since you're actually teaching us, you should probably be more professional than drawing goatees and mustaches on your, on your slides. Anyway, that's how it's going to work. Then you come down here and click stop recording. It's going to save it. And then the class can view this. The class can view this. It was talking to me. I don't know if you could hear it. I don't think you can. I don't think I have it piping through the video that I'm recording. But the class will listen to you do your explanation. You have to do it for each slide. And remember, aim for 5 minutes or less. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be perfect. I'm kidding. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do your best. But it doesn't have to be long. So it should be easier to do something that's good and not long than good and very long, hopefully. Okay, is that everything I wanted to tell you about VoiceThread? Yes. But not everything I wanted to tell you in general. So let's go to Google Scholar really quickly. Scholar is scholar.google.com. And yes, if you saw my search history, I was recently looking for what the most expensive Hot Wheels toy is, because it's more expensive than you'd think. It's like $20,000. It's as expensive as an actual car. And I have one. The problem is I played with it, and so it's worth like nothing. I was such an idiot when I was a child. Anyway, okay. So this is Google Scholar. You probably all know this because a lot of you probably use this for your homework too. Now, one thing that you can do here is you could type in, let's say, stuttering, basal ganglia. I mean, this is the typical way to search, right? But I mentioned you want to look for review articles. So you might throw in the word review. Here's a critical review of possible relations. Now, review articles are great, and I'm going to show you why review articles are great. Review articles are great because they are going to summarize the findings of all these other studies. And it's loading. This is taking a long time. They're going to summarize the findings of all these different studies, and it's kind of like they've already done your literature search for you. It's kind of a hack in the area. Like, it's a hack that everybody knows about and everybody's okay with. If you have something that you are researching, find a review article. People get, credit for publishing review articles. And they're out there so that you can read all of the relevant information and get up to speed quickly instead of having to dig back through 70 plus years of research on your own. Okay, so let's say you're going through and you're reading these things. See all of these. Look at all these citations. It's amazing. So you're going through and you're reading them. And let's say like you really like Mink and Thok. Let's find one that's easier to pronounce. Okay, Mink. Great. So I'm going to click on Mink, and I can come down here, Mink. So 1996. It's going to be tempting that you want to just cite this, but you actually should, because you need to paraphrase. You can't just take the 2 or 3 sentences that this article wrote about this journal, this review article wrote about this article by Mink. It's going to be much harder for you to paraphrase that than if you actually copy this and go to Google Scholar again and read the article, at least skim the article. You got to play the game. You have to at least skim these things. So here's the article by Mink. Okay, so that's cool. That's why review articles are awesome. But there's another thing that's built into Google Scholar that is really, really helpful for doing research. Now, I know some of you are not planning on doing research in any way after this class. And you're going to be really bummed to know that other instructors also require you to do research papers. And some of you want to do actual research where you do actual experiments. At least 50% of your time is looking for previous research because you have to back up your claims. So this right here, cited by 2,645, that's a lot of people citing this article. But you can click that, and you can now just look at all the articles that have cited that article. If you click right here, search within Citing Articles, and then come up here to the search bar, you can then type in other things. Wait, what did that say? Clutterbuck. That's hilarious. You can type in other search terms and search within the articles that have cited an article that you really like about another topic. So let's say that you find something that's really great about stuttering in the basal ganglia. You only want to look at who's cited it. You can. And then make sure that you click search within citing articles. Otherwise, it's just going to do a regular search. But if you click this, then you can find articles that have cited the one that you already think is relevant. So you're going to find very relevant articles. And see, within this, we've got cluttering. This is a handbook of research, books.google.com. Sometimes you can click on these and read them and actually get information from them. Sometimes it's just annoying. But the next one down, it's the same thing, but in PDF. So why would we use this one anyway? So you could get this PDF about cluttering. A review of possible relations is going to talk about dopamine, dystonia, and cluttering. So see, we've got all these great things that really go along with this article that we already thought was great. So this is a really effective and efficient way to do your literature search and to really narrow down to the things that you know already that are going to be helpful. It's kind of just like removing more of the chaff from what you're actually trying to search for. Okay, so let's see. Let's get rid of this, and we're going to go back to my face, because then I have another thing I want to talk to you about. Hello, there I am. Now what I want to talk to you about is Exam 2. Let's talk about commonly missed questions. Once again, there were only 2. So you did a great job again on Exam 2. In fact, as I was looking through all of the exam questions, a lot of what I was seeing was like 83% of the people got this right. 95% of the people got this question right. The scores are very high across the board. So you should feel really good about that. There were only 2, like I said, questions that more than half the people missed, and that was they were noticeably lower. I mean, it wasn't like, 57% of the people got this right, and I'm like, well, more than half. No, really, I mean, the average of people per question getting it right is probably somewhere around 90, 88, something like that. So everybody probably got a really pretty good score. The average was about 90, so good job. One of those 2 questions, though, is the jargon stage. The question was, what happens in the jargon stage? Is it that children use hand gestures like their parents? Is it that children use prosody like their parents? Is it that children use speech sounds that are not in their language that they're actually around? Or is it all of the above? Nobody chose just hand gestures. Nobody chose just speech patterns. But a lot of you chose that it was all of the above. And I think maybe what happened was maybe you were just reading too fast. Because non-canonical language is rooted out very quickly. In fact, we're talking about in the vocal play stage, babies are making a lot of sounds that are not canonical to their language. Because we can make any sound when we're at that age. We can make any sound as adults. It's just not as easy to do in speech. But during, again, vocal play, babies are making all the sounds. Now that starts to get rooted out more quickly, and they'll make less and less of those sounds. By the time they're at the jargon stage, they're making pretty much just the sounds that we know about in our language. Whatever language you speak, whatever language a parent and child speak, the child in the jargon stage is just going to be making the sounds that are common to that language between the child and the parent. But they are doing a lot of things like mimicking the hand gestures, mimicking the speech patterns, the way that it sounds. Think about the dad and the kid sitting on the couch talking about TV. Nobody knows what the heck that kid's saying, but it looks like he's actually having a conversation, right? Ba 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 ba, right? And so, perfect example of what happens in the jargon stage. Like he's learning how to have a conversation. He just doesn't know the words yet, but he does know the speech sounds. Okay, and then the second question that was there was a little bit of trouble with was the pharynx, mouth, and nasal cavity do what? The correct answer is that they shape the sounds to create speech. Though some people were saying that it was all of the above, that they would affect loudness and that they would also affect, that they would create harmonics. Well, loudness is mostly controlled by how much air is moving through the vocal folds here. I'm going to jump back really quickly. I think possibly what's happening here is that pharynx and larynx sound very similar, but they're not the same thing. So larynx is in here with the laryngeal cartilage. The vocal folds are here, and that would be true if I said the larynx does what, and you could say it controls loudness, it creates the harmonics, and it shapes, speech sounds. It's less true that the larynx shapes speech sounds, but it has some component in that. Then that's true. The larynx is right here. The pharynx, though, is the tube above the larynx coming up. So if you took an X-ray in through my neck, you've got the laryngopharynx is right here, the oropharynx is back here, and the nasopharynx is roughly right here. It's the meat tube that goes up and carries the sound out, or food and other liquids in, or food and other liquids out, depending on if you have food poisoning. So it's pharynx that we're talking about, not larynx. Pharynx is meat tube, larynx is cartilage and vocal folds. So loudness is controlled by how much air you're pushing through the vocal folds. More air means louder. So really quiet like this, you're not using a whole lot of air. But then if you talk really loud, you're using a lot of air. Push more air out. You can feel it. You can feel your diaphragm tense up when you talk louder. When you yell, of course, or laugh. And then harmonics are created by the vocal folds. It's actually the buzzing and vibrations of the larynx that create the harmonic overtones. Those harmonic overtones created by the larynx move up through the pharynx, and that is when the pharynx, mouth, and nasal cavity shape those vibrations into speech sounds. But they don't create the harmonics, they just shape the harmonics. So it's kind of like if we think about a marble statue, we could say that the earth creates the marble, and it's the sculptor that creates the statue. So in this case, the earth is creating the marble, the larynx is the earth, and the marble that it's creating is the harmonic overtones. It's the raw material, right? And then you have the sculptor, who is the human carving the marble, or it's the pharynx, mouth, and nasal cavity that are shaping the harmonic overtones that come from the larynx. But again, only two. Great job, everybody. And some of you have feedback for homework 2 already. Some of you don't. You should have feedback for homework 2 by the end of the day. And then you can start on, you can start on homework 3 before you get your feedback, but then incorporate your feedback and find your extra articles. Remember, your homework 3 doesn't have to be long, just a few slides. And when you talk about it, no more than 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be long. So if you don't like talking in front of people, first of all, it's online. So, assume that it's just me and Alexis and Sasha that are going to be listening to these. It is true that your classmates will have the opportunity to listen to this, so others could. But for your own sanity when you're recording it, just assume that they're not going to. And then upload that and we'll take a look at it. Now, when we're done, when you've submitted yours by the deadline, I'll go through and grade. I do encourage you to look at other people's final products. A lot of people have emailed me with disorders that we don't have time to talk about in class. And I've definitely given them the go-ahead. So there's a lot of extra information that can help you in your future career as both an SLP or an AUD. There's disorders on both sides of the spectrum. So take a look and see what everybody's doing. Hopefully it'll, help put this information even more into your head, and it'll stick around. And then 4 to 6 years from now, when you're an actual practicing SLP, you'll be like, oh, I know this. I learned it in Dr. Patton's class, and then I watched those 3 other presentations on it. So let's go. We can do it. Okay. That was all that action-packed stuff that I was talking about. It'd be great if I could just, like, blow something up right now. But I'm not Michael Bay. I can't do that. I'll talk to you soon. Exam 3 is due tonight. So I will make another one of these really soon. And then I'll talk to you guys soon. I guess I should say one of the reasons why we're doing these is for your understanding and for your knowledge, but also the cumulative final is going to have some of these questions on it. So it is good to know this information in case those are questions that come up again. Okay. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.